Down in the Deep South, homes come as over-the-top and unique as the personalities who live there.
It's not quite normal, but I've never professed to be normal.
Might be the largest doghouse in the world. The kitchen countertop weighs about 10,000 pounds. We can sit 20 people around it.
From a secluded, swampy sanctuary to a mega mansion of historic proportions and luxury in the low country, these homeowners mix champagne tastes with moonshine views.
Very unusual to build something this elaborate way out in the Bayou country.
On Ultimate Homes, Southern Exposure. Living in the South has incredible rewards. Beautiful bayous, stunning live oaks, deep-rooted culture, Cajun cuisine. It's a place to be desired. To build a home here, you've got to overcome oppressive heat, intense humidity, unstable wetlands, and violent storms. For the resilient residents who dare to tame these lands with walls and a roof, the South can be the lap of luxury. On the outskirts of Baton Rouge, Louisiana, is a stretch of water called Bayou Fountain. Its tranquility and beauty inspired one eccentric sculptor to transform 10 swampy acres of land into an amazing work of art.
My home is not about just the house, it's about views. It's about living in the area and living inside of sculpture in a legitimate, wonderful Louisiana setting. And it's just a sweet spot. Living on the bayou is a wonderful experience. It's a great ecosystem. I come from Cajuns. You can live off the land. And the fact that I have a water well and I can live on the wild game if it comes down to it. This is Bayou Fountain that goes into the Amite River. It goes into Lake Maurepas, it goes into Lake Pontchartrain. You can literally get to the Gulf out of this little bitty bayou.
Rigsby Frederick makes his living by shaping and molding nature's strongest materials, stone, metal, and wood, to create unbelievable masterpieces. Determined to create his finest and most challenging work of art, a home for he and his wife Sarah, he built this $4 million, 4,000 square foot, 3-bedroom, 3-bathroom home with a standalone art studio and guest house perched above a swamp. Set on a charming hillside, the home is situated to take advantage of the beauty in the surrounding nature. Before this sculptor even thought about framing his home, he focused on the grounds to create an idyllic environment that emulated his Cajun upbringing. Open land overlooking a gorgeous bayou. But since the bayou wasn't right outside his front door, he looked to his artistic talents and sculpted his own body of water.
I was able to dig the pond and move earth. It was a blank slate. The pond was an opportunity to thank God I could move earth. I got the chance to sculpt earth.
After spending $100,000, the amazing beauty of the sculpted pond gave Rigsby the idea to showcase some of his favorite creations on the surrounding grounds.
Well, what you see here is called the offering. It's 28,000 pounds of stone I brought in. If you notice, it's just like a clock. Stations, everything's done to go back to the house. It's really neat just to put work into your home and your own property.
With the landscape complete, he was able to finally turn his attention to building his dream home. Requiring 77 concrete pilings to position the home precisely where he wanted, and to create a foundation strong enough to support the 4,000 square foot home, it was no easy task.
It took 3 months and hundreds of thousands of dollars just to get to a slab. So I was very intent on perching myself on this hill, and I cuss this hill every day.
Eventually, he created the ultimate bayou home, a gallery to display his and other artists' finished works. And to make his mark on the inside, he handcrafted huge wooden trusses to support the ceiling in the great room.
I had to have something that held the three beams together and equally distributed the weight.
Having worked with many different types of wood and materials to create his sculptures, he wanted every aspect of the home, from the ceiling to the floor, to be as unique as his works of art.
I was in New Orleans at a warehouse, and I passed some lumber that had just been milled, and I touched it, and it was oily. And I asked the guy, "What is that?" He says, "That's teak." And I said, "Well, I know they use it on boats. How does it do on the floor?" And he says, "It's great. It's a solid wood teak, and it holds up to 3 dogs, and it's a wonderful thing."
Repurposed and reclaimed materials were used throughout the home, including custom-built pieces found in the master bedroom.
The fireplace was handmade, the bed was handmade, the armoire was handmade. Everything in our environment is really hand-done. Our view from the bedroom is really meant to enjoy the pond, all of the sculpture on the property. You really have a wonderful view right from here.
And no sculptor's home would be complete without a separate workshop. So Rigsby built a 1,500 square foot space to unleash his artistic expression.
This is where the magic happens. Full fabrication, stone, steel, wood, everything from beaver skin to granite. An eclectic collection of material from around the world that will eventually become something combined. You have to have a place to be creative, and I have been blessed. I've always had a studio, but never one quite like this.
These sculptures are the result of an artist's unbridled imagination. And for Rigsby, whose home had become the ultimate sculpture, he longed to make one last addition before he considered it complete. A 640 square foot refuge called the Palmetto Suite was constructed at a cost of $350,000.
The man cave. That's what makes it all worth it here. It's what makes me tick. It's what makes this property work for me. Just like a big kid, I was out in the woods and I was going to make myself a little bridge over this natural slough. Just trying to create a sitting area, and then it was going to be a deck, and then it was going to be a screen porch, and then, wow, it got away from me. It ended up just being a piece of sculpture that you can live in. It's not quite normal, and but I've never professed to be normal.
Baton Rouge, Louisiana is where sculptor Rigsby Frederick and his wife Sarah call home. But they didn't stop at this 4,000 square foot work of art. Rigsby also built a swampy getaway smack in the middle of Bayou Fountain. But the so-called Palmetto Suite was plagued with problems from the start. Everything had to be ferried in and out by ATV or canoe because the rise and fall of the bayou water was too much for heavy equipment or pickup trucks.
There were times I had to actually pull my guys out in a canoe and then leave them on the levee, go back and ferry my carpenters in. Several times during the process, water would come up and we were chasing 2x4s.
After 10 long months, he had a second sculpture to call home. A compact yet comfortable swamp dwelling with loads of artistic charm.
It's not fancy, but it's real. Y'all come on in.
The Palmetto Suite is only a fraction of the size of the main house, but it has striking similarities in the use of repurposed materials.
So basically I had a 20 by 18 footprint, and then I had to design within that. So it really makes you realize what is necessary and what do you need to actually make a home.
He sanded 42 whiskey barrels down to make 22 exposed beams that hang over a sitting area, kitchen, full bathroom, and bedroom.
I was able to acquire this lace wood and then this sinker cypress, made the door, and then cut it exactly down the middle, which will always make you a little bit nervous. And it turned out to be a great little entrance to a bathroom.
Inside the bathroom, he used a semi-precious variety of glass for the windows.
I wanted a bathroom with privacy, thus the onyx worked great. I can still get light. Well, and you can see the sun will come through it, and then you get this great light from the inside. It is the chi flow on the bayou. We're in the kitchen at the treehouse, and when you're doing a space that's this small, you really got to think, what do you need, okay, in a kitchen? Of course, as a guy, I think everybody needs a dishwasher, okay, and a little Sub-Zero. Granted, and you're in business.
Furnishing the bathroom and other rooms was a tough task. Everything was too big to make the tight turns in the house, so all the material had to be hauled up by winch and cable, then carefully fed through the second-floor balcony doors. Only then could the furniture be assembled. And most of it was handmade by the artist himself.
In my world, I do one-offs. It takes time to do each piece for the specific site, and everything has to fit together. Find the material, find the inspiration, and then you actually come out with a finished piece. And this piece here in the corner, this is maple burl, of course, on a rocker, the rosewood, and it's always when you're working with something that is not square, it even makes it more difficult. So it just takes a long time. It's a labor of love. It's something that, you know, hopefully my kid will get.
The second-floor balcony is yet another showpiece created by the Bayou Artist, a sculpture with a stunning view.
And as you can see, I'm now up on the south balcony. You're in the treetops, and thus the nickname treehouse, but we're along Bayou Fountain, and there's nothing but a full ecosystem and woods for miles. So truly, you are in a situation that is very, very remote and very, very special. And what I love about this balcony is I will never see another rooftop. You know, my goal when I'm designing a property is to have different sitting areas in different places. And this has turned out to be a very special sitting area. I can view wildlife through the windows. And it's something that is very, very important to me, that it integrates with the property. Most of you just walked right by it and didn't see it. I came out here with pipe and copper and made all the rope out of metal and just hand lashed everything, and then turned out to be just a great space.
His dream of living inside his ultimate work of art is complete.
When you do something you're really passionate about, it comes out of your pores, you know, and all I do is do. Just been really, really fortunate.
They say that a man's home is his castle, and that's exactly what Brock Rowley built on the banks of South Carolina's Colton River. After vacationing in Hilton Head during the 1970s, he fell in love with the area. So as soon as he hung up his hard hat in the steel business, he returned to make his permanent home in this charming resort town. In 1993, Brock and his wife found the perfect plot of land and built the palace they'd always wanted.
So I retired in 1988, and we moved here full time. I actually bought the property because it was 10 acres in a gated community, which is unusual. I knew it was one of a kind, so to speak, and deep water lot.
With a sizable piece of real estate and the promise of water views from every window, his goal was to construct an 8,000 square foot house. But 8,000 quickly escalated to 18,000. And a $12.6 million mega mansion was born. It's complete with 6 bedrooms, 6 bathrooms, and a 2,800 square foot guest house, all filled with worldly possessions and pieces of history.
We built it a little too big, but that's better than too small, I guess. We tried to make it as different as we could and still comfortable as we could. The house is a little unique for the area. Most houses here are what they call low country, Savannah, Charleston. This is more bringing a European, which is not really native to the area.
As soon as construction began, so did the building challenges. The river may look pristine, but the swampy soil along the water's edge wasn't stable enough to support a massive mansion of this size. So, to come up with a fix, he had to fork over some serious cash.
And actually, even the stone runs down about 3 feet into the ground. The foundation of this house cost over $1.5 million. But we didn't want it settling or moving around with the sandy type soil we have around here.
And soil wasn't the only issue. Mother Nature can be particularly cruel in the South, with extreme heat, high humidity, and even the occasional hurricane. Packed with Southern charm, a dash of Cajun influence, and deep-seated culture, some of the homes in the Low Country are truly incredible. For retired steel industry titan and world traveler Brock Rowley, he chose the marshy banks of the Colton River in South Carolina to build his dream home, which he coined the Versailles of the South. The area may be beautiful, but it's prone to scorching temperatures, humidity, and strong storms. To protect his palace from the elements, he installed concrete exterior walls nearly 2 feet thick, covered in a layer of stone, and had all of the doors and window panes reinforced with steel.
I think this place will be here 500 years from now at least.
Covering the roof are thousands of inch-thick 50-year-old slate tiles imported from China. Even with concrete walls, the weight of the tiles would crumble them. So he created a veritable forest of trusses in the attic.
Since this building has a slate roof, double framing, and is very heavy, there's twice as many trusses, and nearly all the woodwork is 2x6s rather than 2x4s.
Come out from behind the scenes, and the castle, in all its ornate Victorian splendor, comes to life.
The ceilings here are 35 feet tall, and it was quite a project. Took 2 or 3 weeks to complete this work. This mantle is somewhat unique. The stone is from Texas, from South Texas, but the artist did it right out here under the oak tree.
Brock even dedicated an entire room to display his affinity for European decor.
This room is, we call it the embassy room. The reason we call it the embassy room is because the woodwork in here, all of it's from the Hungarian embassy of Paris.
Getting handmade paneling, more than 150 years old, from Paris to South Carolina took some finagling. After they arrived, builders spent more than 2 months assembling them in the embassy room. In his office down the hall, another type of reclaimed wood was used to create the very unusual, one-of-a-kind look.
All the woodwork in here, solid paneling, is made from wormy chestnut. To get this wood, I bought a barn in East Tennessee about 20 years ago and just stored the wood until it was made into this finished paneling.
Although beautiful, it's what's hidden behind the paneling that's the real stunner. Secret doors leading to secret hideaways to escape to.
Had them put in a little door here in case I could escape. In fact, one time we were having an event and I didn't want to meet the people, so I just slipped through here and they wondered where I had gone. This house ended up with so many angles and open spaces and areas. We have secret doors on both sides which open, and you don't notice them, but we keep all of our electrical and special items back in here, and it kind of made use of kind of worthless space.
Head a little ways down the hall, and the majestic 2,500 square foot master bedroom is revealed. Surprises are at every turn in the luxurious space. There are 2 bathrooms, his and her dressing rooms, as well as this sitting room, which is actually bigger than the house Brock and his wife lived in when they were first married. To carry the stone exterior inside, some special features were added to the kitchen.
This is our kitchen area, which is a commercial size. It's basically 2 full kitchens. And we even put a little fireplace in here, and you'll notice it has a little stonework. And we like the stonework, so we decided these arches We had our stonemason come in here. No drawings or anything, just started work and completed both arches.
With their palatial home complete, Brock and his wife are living the good life, retired in their magnificent castle on the Colton River.
We're very happy with the house. It was a lot of effort and we worked at it hard, but it's worth it to us. We've enjoyed the house and it's very much worth it. We would do it again.
Bayou Liberty is in the heart of Louisiana swamp country, just 30 miles north of New Orleans. The region is so marshy and flood-prone, it can be tough to access by road. After Hurricane Katrina, this home was under 3 feet of water, moldy and rotten. But where others saw it as a teardown, swimming pool builder Greg McSwain saw the potential.
We own a beautiful piece of property. You can go outside and see different animals, go boating. The kids love it. I always wanted a house like this. Never thought I'd have the opportunity to own this exact house. When I started in the pool business myself, I needed a little bit of help. Pete Damon, who was an engineer, lived in this house 30 years ago, and his company was run out of my garage. So originally, my drawings were done on this property 30 years ago. So I fell in love with it then for sure.
After his friend decided to downsize and move to the property next door, Greg was determined to purchase the home he had been admiring for years. But he had to face the reality of its vulnerable location.
The greatest thing we face is the tidal surges from the hurricanes, which during the summer, we probably get 5 or 6 occasions where the tide comes up really high.
In 2005, Hurricane Katrina tore through Louisiana, causing an estimated $100 billion in damage.
This house sits up at 10 feet above sea level. During Katrina, the water was about this deep.
The damage was extensive, and so was the renovation that followed. After purchasing the waterlogged disaster for $265,000, he sunk an additional $600,000 to make it habitable and turn it into his dream home. At 4,200 square feet, it's complete with 4 bedrooms and 3.5 bathrooms. But getting there was a dirty job, especially ridding the place of its old rotted and molded structure in order to bring it new life.
When we first purchased it, it took us about a year to gut it and clean it out, get rid of the mold, and get it prepared for renovation. First thing we started doing is taking the walls down and opening up the house.
That's when he discovered the structural problems were much worse than he thought, and wasn't prepared for the sheer magnitude of work that it would require. The roof was barely standing and on the verge of collapse. Without a fix, his house was going to cave in and crush his dream. When Hurricane Katrina tore through Louisiana in 2005, many of the homes in Bayou Liberty were nearly destroyed, including the home that swimming pool builder Greg McSwain bought a couple years later. Not many people would be up for salvaging such a dilapidated, moldy mess, but Greg was determined to bring it back to its original glory, as he had been eyeing the property for decades in hopes he would one day own it. In 2008, he got to work, replacing nearly all of the original wood throughout the home. But after tearing out the rotted interior walls to create an open floor plan, the roof became incredibly unstable. Looking for a cost-effective fix, he installed wooden support beams salvaged from an old Amish barn in Wisconsin to make the roof structurally sound, saving him thousands.
In order to put the beams up, we had to build false walls next to the real walls and then take the real walls down, put the beams up.
And next to the beams, the perfect place to warm up on those cool Louisiana nights.
The main feature in our living room is our fireplace. It used to be a small brick fireplace. We put a foundation around the base of it, and I stoned it.
Built from more than 15 tons of moss rock, each stone was individually hand-set by Greg and his friend.
This is a multifunctional coffee table. We use it as a bench. I also use it to crack my back with a yoga ball. It's a piece of antique Indonesian driftwood. It's 12 feet long, 6 feet wide. Most people can't fit this into their house, but I love it.
And in the kitchen, another creation.
This countertop is only one or two like this in the world, and the only other one like this I built at my other house. I like the fact that it's a floating 10,000-pound chunk of concrete. The kitchen countertop weighs about 10,000 pounds, and it's supported through concrete columns that go through the floor to a larger concrete slab underneath the house.
Tapping into his pool building expertise, Greg chose to make the countertop from gunite, a durable concrete mixture commonly used to build the foundation of in-ground swimming pools.
You can do anything with it. You can shape it any way you want. You can wrap it around and configure it in any position that you like. It's actually dyed with a jet black and Irish green to achieve the color we have, and it'll last forever. We can sit 20 people around it, and it's just a good gathering place for the family. I wanted to build a commercial kitchen because I started off my working career in a restaurant. And I just loved the way all the stainless steel looked and functioned. And we can cook anything in here. We can cook a meal for 50 people.
One of the most distinctive features of the kitchen is a repurposed archway.
This is the Indian arch I bought years ago and had it in storage, just waiting for the right spot to put it. When I bought this house, I knew this was the spot it was going, right here. I built this room around this arch. We put the arch up first off to get the measurements, and whatever room we had left on the left-hand side became the bathroom, and whatever room we had on the right side became the pantry.
The pantry eliminated the need for other storage areas, an important factor for Greg.
I don't like kitchen cabinets, and if you notice, we don't have any. We store all of our goods in the pantry. So we keep everything in here that we need to cook a Cajun feast. Here in Louisiana, we can cook alligator, crawfish, crabs, turducken, which is a combination of turkey, chicken, and duck with 3 different stuffings. Turtle soup is very popular.
Hosting lots of family and friends for his Cajun dinner parties made the open layout of the home come in quite handy.
I use pocket doors wherever I could in the house because they're very efficient, they save space, and I love pocket doors.
When it was time to focus on the floors, which had all been ripped up and gutted, Greg found the perfect reclaimed materials to make them from.
Well, one of my favorite things in the house are these hardwood floors. They're 12-inch antique heart of pine. They were from a cigar box factory in Tampa, Florida. Originally, they were about 16 inches wide and 3 inches thick, and they slice a top portion and a bottom portion off so you get 2 aged pieces out of it. Behind me is a 1860 London Grand I bought at a local auction house. They were auctioning off all of Lenny Kravitz's furniture from a house he was selling in New Orleans. This piano wasn't a Lenny Kravitz piano, so no one else was interested in bidding on it, and I was looking for a grand piano, so I purchased it. I got a good deal on it. This is the antique that we actually use. This is the 1860 Hungarian workbench that we use for an office desk. A lot of this furniture was in our old house during Katrina. Good thing about antiques is they're made out of solid wood, so we're able to bring it outside, clean them off and salvage it, and reuse it.
Outside the home, Greg has a plan for additional salvaged materials that have one-of-a-kind historic ties.
One of our favorite things outside are these stones. They were brought over in Viking ships in the 1600s as ballast. It's about 32,000 pounds of stone. Eventually, we're going to build a pergola over them and have a beautiful spot to sit out by the bayou.
The last major project Greg undertook was actually for one of the most important members of the family.
Every bayou house needs a bayou dog, and this is ours, Sebastian. And this is his home. It's a little Creole cottage built for him. But we built it like he did because he was a little bit big to live inside, and we want him to have a nice, comfortable home, so we can actually come out and live with him if we want. Might be the largest dog house in the world, but we love it and he loves it.
What some abandoned as a lost cause, Greg took as a challenge to transform devastation into beauty and create the best southern abode this side of the bayou.
I think one of the things that I enjoy about the house the most is at nighttime, you can go outside and hear nothing. You just hear nature, the birds. There's absolutely no noise. So we're close to New Orleans, but yet we're in the middle of nowhere. I'm very proud of this house. I'm always anxious to show it off, walk people through it, and explain all the little unique features of it. Refurbishing this house was definitely worth it. We love living here. It's a great spot on the bayou, and we love the home.
Suzanne Horan and her husband Bill always dreamed of living in the coastal low country of South Carolina. So in 2008, they left their careers behind and headed for Uhaw Creek, a marshy tributary of the Harbor River.
Florida was too hot to be all year round. And moving from Albany, New York down here, this was the perfect spot. And we fell in love with Hilton Head Island in 1972. We chose the low country because it is so beautiful and it has seasons. It's paradise. We discovered this property as we took a country drive. On the way, Bill saw a sign that said waterfront property for sale. And we fell in love with the property.
Luckily, the creekside locale came pretty easy.
You cannot beat the peace, quiet of this nature here.
The couple bought the house for the stunning views it provided, but they weren't crazy about the house itself. For starters, it was outdated and not up to code.
Well, we decided that it was in our best interest to just tear it down and start from scratch. It was more costly to do it the way we did it, but we wanted to build our dream home. And what the house was not our dream home, it's a dream location.
11 months and 5,300 square feet later, the new $2.6 million house was finished, complete with 5 bedrooms and 5.5 bathrooms on 5 acres of prime waterfront property. But it was a painstaking process. They destroyed the old house, only to realize that there wasn't enough ground to build the new one. According to the updated building codes, the lot was now 6 feet below allowable flood level.
We decided to build up from the ground level after it was torn down, and that meant to bring in all this dirt.
An army of trucks dumped $22,000 worth of fill dirt onto the site, raising the height by 6 feet. Bill and Suzanne Horan found a prime location for their waterfront home in the coastal lowcountry of South Carolina. A house already existed on the property, but it wasn't the one they wanted, nor was it up to code. So they demolished it to start from scratch. It took $22,000 and 6 feet of fill to get the build site to code in order to support the foundation of the 5,300 square foot home.
To keep the dirt in, they had to cut into the dirt and cut trenches, and then they put sand in and then laid rebar and then poured concrete in and built from that on top with cement blocks.
The underground retaining wall encircled the entire site. It took 10 weeks, but gave the couple some much-needed peace of mind.
Step by step, not the cheapest, but it's what we chose. So here we are in the lanai, which is our outdoor family room, and we have our fireplace, our outside fireplace, wood burning, and our lap pool. It's only 5 feet deep with a little sun pod for our grandchildren so they can stand and play with toys and not get submerged. This pool was constructed as a part of the foundation of the house. So this is on the same dirt that the whole house is on.
To capitalize on the home's idyllic location and stunning scenery, they built wraparound porches.
That's what I wanted since I was 12 years old. Beautiful view, beautiful sounds, just the perfect place to be.
Even on the inside, all of the major rooms have a clear view of the creek. But achieving that in the master bedroom required some creative tweaks to the floor plan.
It's a kind of an octagonal window, 4 panels, I guess it is, of sliding windows that open up to the view and the noises of the creek. We wanted more light. We wake up to the sunrise, and at night we have the sunset in the family room.
Getting a panoramic view in the living room proved to be much easier.
You can see all the way through the living room out to the back porch. And it's all about the open floor plan. It's an open concept that we wanted to have a warm and welcome feeling for everyone that came into the house. You're in the low country. It's Carolina blue sky and sunshine, and why not use it all through the house?
They also wanted a place where they could relax with friends. So they built a bar replete with everything but a bartender.
We look at the view. It's all right there, but it's also all behind the person who's standing here at the bar. And the people sitting in the bar stools can see the view as well. So we, again, brought the view in.
And for the ultimate in entertaining, an enormous open kitchen with some clever storage solutions.
We have an island that's filled with cupboards, warming drawer, microwave, a prep sink it's hidden with a boat faucet, 82 inches of gorgeous wood, and a place to use as a buffet for our dinner parties.
A specially crafted traditional coffered ceiling adorns the main living area. Each box or coffer was built separately and then lifted into place by hand.
We didn't want to have a flat ceiling. We wanted to have a little texture. It just gave a little different detail to a little bit of formality in the living space.
When builders tackled the upstairs, they reconfigured the floor plan to create more space.
In the original plan, the room was supposed to end right here at this end of the wall with a 2-story foyer downstairs. And our framers said, you could gain a lot of space if you brought this room all the way to the front wall. So we followed his advice. We created space, not only extra space for hanging out, which enabled us to have a craft corner for myself and ship model desk for my husband.
The extra room also allowed for 2 small bedroom nooks for their grandchildren. It took a year and a half of planning and patience, but Bill and Suzanne finally have the house of their dreams.
Words can't express the feeling of knowing that what you worked so hard is really yours, because there were times when we didn't know whether or not this would be ours. The relief of coming here was almost like getting out of jail. It really freed us, and you know, you worked so hard to see what you create, and it's wonderful to be able to live in that.
In Schriever, Louisiana, just across the water of Little Bayou Black, is a stunning Victorian Gothic estate. Lee Schaffer and his wife Susan both served in the military and couldn't wait to live a quiet life when they retired. Moving into this sprawling compound was an easy decision.
We are considered the largest example of rural Victorian Gothic architecture in the state of Louisiana. Very unusual to build something this elaborate way out in the Bayou country.
The estate was originally built in 1890 by Lee's great-great-grandfather, John Dalton Schaffer, and has been in the family ever since.
Art has been passed down from one generation to the next. There have been 6 generations. Our sons are the 7th generation.
Inheriting the home at virtually no cost, the couple was determined to preserve the house and its numerous antiques and museum-quality furnishings. By completing a $175,000 renovation, the 8,000-square-foot home is now valued at $1.2 million, comprised of 7 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms, and a dozen fireplaces. But when it comes to renovating an historic home, using the same materials and methods as they did when it was originally built proves to be a very difficult task 125 years later. In Schriever, Louisiana, Lee and Susan Schaffer retired from the military and moved into a Victorian Gothic estate that had been in the family for generations. After inheriting the aging home, it would cost over $175,000 to restore it and bring it back to its original condition. Pricey, yet worth every penny.
You think about the history that we're preserving, you think about the family tradition. Whenever I work on a project with my sons, I always tell them, I said, think about what we're doing and think about what you're going to tell your grandchildren whenever we're able to pass it down to them as to how you worked on the house and how you made the house something for them. I mean, you're not doing this for ourselves, we're doing this for the next generation.
The Schaffers hired craftsmen who were able to complete the renovation using original construction methods used during the 1890s, meaning no power tools, to restore the home and its many faces.
So Ardent was built in the Victorian Gothic style of architecture, and one of the things they used to do was to put faces all over the walls. You can find faces in furniture, you can find them in light fixtures, and it was considered good luck and protection. I think I've counted 37 faces throughout the house. So we're always being watched, or as you can think of, we're kind of being watched over.
All the woodwork in the house was done by hand.
Think about the type of tools they had to have to cut the type of molding in such perfect cuts. It's all flush, everything is flush.
But challenges of the home date back 125 years when the house was originally built.
Right in the middle of construction, there was a tornado that went through and destroyed much of the house. Much of the work that had already been done had been demolished.
So builders were back to square one. They looked to harvest the trees on the land for the fireplace mantles. But with no one in the area to mill it, they were forced to ship it all upriver.
So all the milled wood was sent back to the plantation from St. Louis via the Mississippi River. What you're seeing here is mostly red pine. The post and beams for the house are all cypress. And what's under the wallpaper is what they call barge board. Barge board is just a rough pine board. What's covering the barge board is what the wallpaper. It is original wallpaper. It dates back to when the house was built. And how it was made, it's hand stamped paper, which is covering the wall, but it's attached to cheesecloth. So they didn't glue the wallpaper onto the barge board. They draped it over and tacked it on.
In the late 19th century, it was customary to accommodate all guests who came calling. So they created 2 sitting rooms, or parlors. One for the ladies.
So I'm sitting here in the ladies' parlor on the couch. This is called a courting couch, and it was designed if a gentleman caller came to visit the lady of the house, they would be separated. So the lady on one side, the gentleman on the other, and possibly a chaperone in the middle.
And one for the gents.
So we're in the men's parlor, or as they might say today, the men's man cave. In this room, they would have conducted most of their business with the sugarcane planters throughout the area. When we arrived here in 2008, we went to the safe first, hoping that we'd find a lost treasure or some Civil War gold. This safe was actually locked and we couldn't get into it, and it took us several years to actually find the right guy to get it open. We finally got it open, and the only thing in the safe was a bottle of bourbon.
The carpeting on the main staircase was also in dire need of an update. So they tore it out, without any idea of what they'd find underneath.
We were pleasantly surprised to pull up the carpet and find a hand-painted staircase. Nobody knew it was under there. It is original to the house, and it was cheaper at the time to hire an artist to come live with you and paint your floor than it was to purchase oriental carpet from overseas. At the foot of the staircase, you may also notice one of the original light fixtures. It is a gasolier. They were put in and changed to electricity about the 1930s. Each plantation had its own gas plant, producing gas to light the light fixtures in the house.
When they first moved into the home, modern conveniences were in short supply. The plumbing was archaic, and there was no electricity on the second floor. Reason enough to justify the renovation.
It was fairly difficult to install the plumbing and the electricity. The plumbing was obviously a little more complicated because the larger pipes and things like that have to be run through the wall. With the electricity, it's not quite as difficult because you can run a line, and then the line becomes something that you pull the wires up with. It's just an expensive process, trying to put in the electricity for today while we're still preserving the historic value of the home.
We kind of lived the way they did 100 years ago. If it's hot, we open the windows. If it's cold, we pull out the down blanket.
A medieval-looking feature on the outside of the house also helps beat the Louisiana heat.
I think the most unique thing about the house is probably the functioning of the tower. The large 75-foot tower we think was used to cool the house. The house is 5 feet off the ground, which allows the air to blow under the house, come up through the walls, rise out the tower, and out the open slats.
In 2012, a few large oak trees that shaded the house were blown over, and the temperature inside the home skyrocketed.
Unfortunately, there was a recent Hurricane Isaac that actually came in with a nice strong tornado and took out 3 of those oak trees. They were over 300 years old, good sturdy oaks that went down overnight.
There's still no central heat or air conditioning in the master bedroom, but that's about to change. Lee and Susan are springing for a few window units to help take the sting out of the hot and humid southern summers. And they have several other inventive ways to regulate the home's temperature.
So here you'll notice that there are 4 tracks on the windows. Those tracks are used for the shutters. They could raise or lower the shutters depending on the climate.
Restoring an historic home is a never-ending, expensive project. But the Schaffers are proud to preserve the history of the family's legacy while living the dream in their ultimate southern home.
I love living here because we're preserving history.
We struggle and we work at it. Whenever you see the kids' eyes just pop, that's rewarding. That gives you a sense of, hey, we're doing something that's working. You're not doing this for ourselves, we're doing this for the next generation.
Whether you're looking for a Victorian Gothic estate or a chic Cajun abode, whether you're looking to renovate a swampy fixer-upper or build a new palatial compound, the charm of the South and all of its diversity makes it easy to imagine your dream home in the beautiful Low Country.